Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. President, for this opportunity to brief the Council on the United Nations work on preventing
the United Nations. I, Cherry Shakuru, as the President of the Human Rights Council, preside over this meeting. Let us have a brief introduction for the representatives of each country.
Timiago, representing the United Kingdom. Temi Popola, delegate of France.
Temi Popola, delegate from France. Alexander Lapopo, translator.
Ben Xizhou.
Yuan Chao, representing China, and a translator Samuel Mancharo.
Kimberly Mabo, delegate from South Africa.
Akam Skotangana, delegate from Russia.
Lanumi Adigo, representing Canada.
Aaron from Japan, delegate from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Colonel Ogwin, representing the United States of America.
Thank you. Today's topic of discussion is about the situation of the Liberians. Kindly acknowledge the fact that over 400,000 Ethiopians have died of famine. This has led to malnourishment, starvation, and extreme death rates. The Human Rights Council is particular about protecting the rights of citizens all over the world. A resolution, and that of the Liberians will not be an exception. The resolution is needed for such a dreadful condition. For the past prevention of wars through the operation of peacemaking, it is salient to resolve both national and international conflicts. Representative of the United Kingdom, the floor is yours.
Despite mass starvation occurring in Ethiopia's northern region of Tigray, senior international aid officials are tiptoeing around declaring a famine. Nearly a year after the civil war erupted, many Ethiopians and Tigrayans are dying of starvation in refugee camps. I propose that delegates from WHO and WFO go over there to ease the tension.
Representative from Canada.
On Wednesday, December 8th, 2021, it was reported that World Food Programme trucks were robbed and looted of all supplies that were to be transported to the Ethiopian villages Kombocha and Desi. The staff had no other choice because of intimidation, and they were held at gunpoint, and they had to give up all supplies that were to be transported and delivered to origin towns.
Delegate from France.
Avec le récent événement depuis avec la guerre entre Abiy Ahmed et Netanyahu, nous avons essayé de fournir des installations pour les familles, en particulier les femmes et les enfants. Bien que ce soit un peu difficile, nous fournissons actuellement des installations en malnutri les enfants. La CRIU est en collaboration avec le Fonds des Nations Unies pour l'enfance a fourni une aide humanitaire de 15,2 millions en enfants et en mères exposés en conflit dans le nord de l'Éthiopie.
With the recent events in Ethiopia, the war between Abiy Ahmed and the Tigrayans, we are trying to provide facilities for families exposed, especially women and their children. Though it is a bit difficult, we are currently providing facilities for malnourished children. The Ethiopian Red Cross Society, in collaboration with the United Nations Children's Fund, provided 1.2 million birr to children and mothers exposed to the conflict in the northern Ethiopia.
Representative from South Africa.
Abiy and his government have rightfully been blamed for implementing uneven reforms and for insecurity increasing throughout the country. He has also failed to manage ethnic tensions within the country. In July 2021, in the midst of the war, Abiy and his party won a landslide victory in a general election that was boycotted by opposition parties, met by logistical issues, and excluded many voters, including all those in Tigray. A crushing disappointment to many who had high hopes that the democratic transition Abiy promised 3 years ago would be realized. Abiy has done nothing to downscale the ongoing civil war in his country because he wants to secure his own positions and his alliances.
It's obvious that it is imminent to broker peace between both parties. Delegates, can we suggest ways to go about this?
2018年，阿比艾哈迈德就任总理后，进行了多项民主改革，给予政党、非政府组织和媒体更多的自由。关于推迟选举，阿比总统表示，由于该国现正面临了各种危机，联邦政府正在努力应对，安全部门也捉襟见肘， 无法帮助监控投票活动，并且由于 COVID-19 的爆发，需要在全国范围内采取卫生措施来遏制病毒的传播。各种预防措施增加了选举的成本，因此推迟选举是一个很好的解决方案。
After Abiy Ahmed became Prime Minister in 2018, a number of democratic reforms were carried out. Firstly, giving political parties, NGOs, and the media more freedom. Regarding the postponement of the election, President Abiy said that due to the various crises that Ethiopia is going through, the federal government is struggling to deal with them. And security forces are too strict to help monitor polling activity. And due to the recent COVID-19 outbreaks in Ethiopia, nationwide health measures to curb the spread of the virus and real precautions to add to the cost of electoral arrangements. So postponing the election was a good solution to the problem.
Thank you, delegates. Postponing the election will be a good way to ensure every citizen has a right to vote. Delegate from Saudi Arabia.
The war in Ethiopia has been devastating. However, when the Arabs look at Ethiopia these days, the public generally sees only the war in Tigray, a relatively small region where 6% of the country's population lives. Indeed, the seeds of the crisis in northern Ethiopia first germinated in Oromia. Only by understanding why and how the war in Tigray started will it be possible to find a lasting path to peace. The complex crisis in Ethiopia has largely been presented in the Western press through the narrow lens of a civil war. In the northern part of the country's problems as emanating from a dispute.
South Africa. The National Electoral Board of Ethiopia, NEBE, has said it lacks the capacity to oversee regional elections in the northern Tigray regional states. The body said the state's council has officially notified them of plans to delay elections. In an official statement, the board reiterated that it will not conduct election in any part of the country until a reassessment of COVID-19 pandemic. Keenly awaited national and regional polls slated for May was postponed over the virus as federal government imposed a 5-month state of emergency. Tigray requested for necessary support to conduct its elections, but NEBE, including South African representatives observing the election, responded that it has no legal ground to deploy manpower and provide logistics and other material support for the election. The body led by Bertukan Mideksa also approved a recommendation by lawmakers that the general election will be held within 9 months to a year after the pandemic is no longer a threat to public health.
Representative from the United Kingdom.
Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's 2-year feud with the rebellious ruling party of the Tigray region has exploded into a war, with mass bombings, massacres, and ethnic divisions that threatens to upend the entire Horn of Africa. Yes, the Ukrainians held an illegal election without Abiy knowing, but the preceding actions of Abiy Ahmed are quite questionable. I propose that delegates from the UN go over to have a meeting with Abiy and come to a solution for this problem.
Representative from the United States.
On September 17, the Biden administration unveiled a new sanctions regime, and in the coming weeks they are applied to a wide set of warring parties in Ethiopia. Its design and diplomacy surrounding it are exemplars of the constructive U.S. engagement amidst an intensifying war and humanitarian situation. The next day, the U.S. government announced such a tough love policy involving new sanctions to be applied to the above actors in the coming weeks unless they are allowed unfettered access, humanitarian access, and begin a dialogue to end the conflict.
Delegate from Saudi Arabia.
The National Red Cross and the Red Crescent Societies who have a long history of protecting children on the move, irrespective of their legal standing. Raya Al-Mak will help with the situation.
Representative from Russia.
Russia will join forces with the Ethiopian allies to calm down the Tigrayans. We will send them troops, weapons, and possibly nuclear weapons to aid them during their war.
Representative from Russia, it would not be advisable to fuel the war that has consumed multiple lives already. In the best interest of Ethiopians, it is best to broker peace.
Limited Secretary General, we will find a way to support a fair and free election in Ethiopia.
Thank you all for your input in today's meeting. The resolution from the Assembly will be taken to the concerned quarters. This meeting has been adjourned. You may all rise.